Alright, thought I would chime in on this subject started by Tom Gariello, right? Something like that. Um, on this whole socialism thing. Um, yeah, well, been there, done that. It's really hard to organize people, really hard to change anything. Status quo has such power. So yeah, I mean, I was similarly disposed. Like, we should be able to do something with this technology. We should be able to do something with this interaction thing. Sort of thinking that way a while back. So I made a whole bunch of YouTube channels, about a dozen of them. Maybe I'll post links. Um, and I thought the best of them was, I set up an idea contest channel and got the prize up to $600, and nobody's submitting any ideas. It's pretty depressing. But yeah, I mean, it's all stuff in there, kind of like what you're talking about. Just this whole, how do you even get ideas how do you get the cream to rise to the top thing? Because it seems like just the fat and the grease rises to the top, and the cream is nowhere to be seen. I mean, the whole internet is just covered with, crap. I mean, cheap ads, just just everything is just so tacky. And so you have this great information resource, and so much of it is just gristle and junk. um, there's the good stuff, but I mean, it's just such a high premium we're paying for it when you think about the billions of dollars in marketing dollars, and none of that's going to productive ideas. Could you imagine if it took the $7 to $10 billion that Google is collecting off the internet, to place ads in the card catalog? If you'd had that $10 billion as prize money for good ideas, for innovative concepts, for implementations, for whatever you want to, however you want to describe it. I mean, $10 billion. I mean, that would be a heck of a motivator. But we have nothing. We have 10 cents for, trying to give people an opportunity to cash in on their talents and skills. There has to really be some sort of system, that allows people to see purpose in taking the chance. Like, even open source software, great idea, but there's got to be a little more trickle down in it. If you just put a little bit of money into it, imagine what it could be. Because most of it, 99% of it, is just given away. It's work for no reward. It's just people who are being underemployed and can't stand it and still will do some work. And really thin hope of getting even just something like your name put somewhere, or some recognition or a thank you from somebody. It's amazing how much productive work is being done, for people that are given almost no incentive to be productive. It's just tragic when you think about it, especially when you just think about how much waste there is in our system. And if you could just take those carrots and put them in front of these people that just can't find their way in the corporate system, in the standard operating procedure kind of mold. So I liked, I listened to the other videos, and I can't remember her name, but school teacher I think she is, or something. But anyway, she talked a little bit about the idea of ideas in a contest, and there was actually a website called Sliced Bread a few years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And unfortunately, they had this whole concept again, paying money for people to submit ideas about political reforms and solutions. And the whole thing turned out to be a big fraud. I mean, 60 or 70,000 people submitted ideas under this idea that it was an honest contest, and it ended up just being, it was run by a labor union, and it was a labor union connected with the DNC, so it just ended up being the guy who won basically was suggesting ideas that have been in the Democratic Party platform for 15 years. So it was a big sham, a big joke. But that's always the threat, is that there's always cheats and crap that has to go on in all these organizations, all these mechanisms. None of them are pure. None of them is a nice mechanical system. I mean, we'd be better off if we just created like a gambling house. At least the rules are set. The machine has a set permutation of when it's going to pay off and how it's going to pay off. And so I like the idea of having ideas percolate up to a certain level, and then it would almost be that, you know, anyone in that level should have a chance. Like, you know, maybe the top rate idea, okay, that gets in, but then out of the next 5 places, you know, they're drawn randomly, and then out of the next 30 places, one more is drawn, and out of the next 60 places, one more is drawn. I mean, I wish search engines worked that way. You know, instead of having these rigged results, they should throw in some randomness from deeper in the pool, because often this 434th result is the one you're really looking for. And that's sort of how it has to, I think it has to be, to encourage people. You really have to give them something, at least a lottery ticket, at least some kind of 1 in 10,000 chance of winning, and maybe a 1 in 1,000 chance of winning. But yeah, you can encourage people. It's visible. You can see people doing things, trying to help, on nothing. And so if we just devoted a little bit of something to it, we could get so much more out of them. And I don't think we should do it just for the purpose of making people more productive, but I mean, that would be a huge side benefit of it. I mean, the other benefit would be is we'd be doing the ethical thing and finding constructive work for people who maybe just can't, like I said, there's lots of us, like I include myself among them, who just can't bend themselves into what commerce requires you to be. I mean, I'm not going to get a job, you know, making unsolicited phone calls to people. I mean, that's just, I'm not going to do it. There's certain jobs I just can't do. I don't have the ethics for it. I can't play the game. I can't lie and cheat, you know, and so that eliminates a lot of prospects. And then the rest of the system demands that you have the proper degree and the proper this, and somebody has to sign it and put their footprint on it and say you're a valid human, because they won't test you, they won't give you an opportunity to prove yourself. But anyway, I mean, there's so much that could be done, but it fails. I mean, it is awful hard to do. Like I said, I got these 12 channels, and all they ask of people is to just maybe hit the subscribe button, maybe just say in the comments, good idea, and that's all they have to do to show their support for it, and they're not there. You know, I've used this example a lot, but I mean, I think it's really a telling example. I mean, there's 25 million cigarette smokers in the United States, and they're getting thoroughly abused by the majority. Okay, I mean, it's the highest taxed commodity on earth, a stinking cigarette. I mean, alcohol kills little babies. Alcohol destroys families. I mean, the ruin that alcohol has imposed on humanity is well documented, and it's horrific in terms of its innocent victims, the collateral damage. And it's taxed at maybe 20% at the most, and tobacco's taxed at 800%. And yet, cigarette smokers can't organize to say, no, we're not going to take it anymore. They can't. They do nothing to stop the abuse they're taking from the majority. And that's just so telling to me of just how difficult it is to get people to do anything, to change anything. It's just awful hard to do. And I don't know what the magic is. I mean, there was some talk of personalities and leaders, but you know, until they start taking lie detector tests, you know, I say screw leaders, because most of the time that's all, they're just game players, they're just egomaniacs. So until they're willing to take a lie detector saying, yes, I'm going to serve the people, I'm going to serve the organization, I don't have any interest in personal gain, I want to just be productive and helpful, you know, until they can do that without the little needle going insane, screw leaders, because they always disappoint, because they just play the game. And that's all we get in politics. I mean, we have two parties completely sold out to special interests. I can certainly pick between Hitler and Mussolini, or Hitler and Tweedledum. You know, so to me, it's you know, it's an obvious lesser of evils, but at their roots, they're both horribly corrupt. I mean, you don't win an election; you just prevent the bigger tragedy. And that's we should be able to expect better than that. It's just really disappointing that this is what makes the world turn, and that we just don't seem to be. We have all this technology and nothing's happening. So anyway, and the last thing I'll point out is that I did do a video here on Vloggerheads, so I'll post a link to that too on the education subject, because I did bring it up anyway. Because to me, those are the kind of reforms we need. We need something dramatic. I mean, we're still running with stagecoach democracy. We've got a stagecoach educational system, and the reason why it's like that is because there's these special interests, these unions, who they got to get their tenure, and you can't fire me, and you can't do this, and you can't do that, and they control the system, and all the money's going to feed the institution rather than accomplish the task. And there's quicker and more direct ways to accomplish the task, especially with this technology that we have now. But these complexes don't want the simple answers. It's like the military, they're always going to contrive a way. They could come up with a 10-cent bomb, but they probably won't sit there and support that, because they want to make the $100,000 bomb. It's all about money, and the gains of individuals or special interests, and it's a horrible human corruption. It's the tragedy of humankind that it can't do better than that. So there's enough of a preach. But see, I mean, you got 4 people, and you got 4 different opinions, and then be 5 people, and be 5 different opinions, and 6 people have 6 different opinions, and it's really hard to find anything we can, all gravitate to and say, yes, I want that. So, anyway, whatever, my 2 cents.